Hey everyone, Chris Patterson here. A couple weeks ago, I posted a video on how to plan out and plot your story. I figured what I would do is I would take my planning process, break it down to about 5 to 10 minute clips, and hopefully this helps you out. One of the first things that I would say is in the writing world, you have what are called pantsers and plotters. And there seems to be this like ongoing battle between pantsers and plotters, and plotters being the person that sits down and plots out their book or their story, whatever they're writing. They outline it, sometimes very extensively. And then you have your pantsers, and those are the people that just sit down and write. And the thing that I have to say about that is that I think there is a plotter and a pantser in everyone. So certainly some people tend to plot a little bit more, and some people tend to pants a little bit more. But to be a really successful writer, I think if you take a look at most successful writers out there, what you're going to find is you're going to find someone who does both, right? You have to have that creative element where you can sit down and you can just write, but at the same time, you have a general idea of where you're starting, where you're going, what the story is going to be. And I would really honestly suggest that at some point that stuff gets written down. It doesn't have to be super extensive. For some people, that makes more sense. And I have to say that in my own writing, going from just purely pantsing and not even knowing where I'm going to being a plotter has helped my writing improve so much. So again, hopefully these videos help you out in terms of how do I get my story down on paper. I mean, that really is the ultimate struggle that a lot of people have, and that is, how do I get this idea that I have in my head, this great idea, this awesome story? I've told the idea to a number of people. They think it's going to be great. How do I get it down on paper, right? How do I turn it into a short story? How do I turn it into a book? Okay, so I'm going to give two steps towards that plotting, towards that story creation in this video. And the first one is, you absolutely, definitely, 100% need to know where you're starting and where you're finishing. Okay, you don't necessarily have to have all the details ironed out in the middle. If you look at the graphic that's up on your screen right now, that's your very typical story arc. You have most stories are broken up into 3 acts. You don't need to know any of that stuff yet. What you do need to know is that very beginning part and the very end part, where it says the beginning, right, and where it says resolution. That's what you need to know, okay? I don't believe, and again, I believe that there's a lot of different ways to do things. The way that I plot my stories might be very different from someone else who is wildly successful, and that's great. But I don't believe that you can really focus and sit down and write your story if you don't know where you're starting and where you're ending. What do I mean by start and end? You need to know, there's 2 components to that. You need to know where your main character is starting, both physically and mentally / emotionally, okay? Where is your main character starting, both physically, so his or her place, location, what do they look like, all of those different components, but who are they emotionally and mentally? Okay, those are the 2 starting points that you need, which means when we go all the way to the end, you need to know where your character is physically, if they've changed locations, if their body has changed somehow, they changed their hair, whatever the case may be. But you also need to know where they are and how they finish that story emotionally and mentally, okay? So that journey needs to be more than just a physical journey, right? That journey is going to be a psychological journey as well. The second thing that you need to know to start planning out your story, the second thing you need to know is who's your protagonist and who's your antagonist. Okay, and if you're unfamiliar with those terms, okay, protagonist is the main character. Think about if it was a movie, this is the main person that your story is going to follow, which means the antagonist is, we're not going to say enemy, we're not going to say bad guy, because it may not be. It may be a co-worker. It may be someone on the other team. It can be a number of different things, but that protagonist antagonist, excuse me, is going to be the person that opposes your protagonist. Now, again, if you're like me, you're already thinking about things that are going to vastly complicate your story. What if my protagonist is actually a group of people? What if my protagonist is a nation? What if my antagonist, same exact thing, my antagonist is a group of people? What if my story follows multiple protagonists? Listen, do yourself a favor, and as you start planning your story, keep it simple, okay? Target one protagonist, target one antagonist. And as your story unfolds, you might find that you have more than one protagonist, or you have more than one antagonist, or any one of those people are a group of people or an organization or whatever the case may be. But I know that I have a tendency to wildly complicate everything I do, okay? So don't overcomplicate this right now. For right now, pick your protagonist, pick your antagonist. Why is your protagonist your protagonist? Why is your antagonist your antagonist? All you need to do, all I would suggest that you do right now is write that down. Type it, write it. Who's your protagonist? What's their name? And why are they the protagonist? Again, this is the person that is going to have a both physical and psychological journey. Your antagonist, who are they? What do they do? And why, right? Why do they oppose your protagonist? Okay, so how does your story start and finish? Physically and mentally and emotionally? Who's your protagonist? Who's your antagonist? I hope this helps, right? It's a quick video on how to get started with planning. If you are good to go, if you want to watch more, next video is going to be coming up. Make sure you subscribe, like and subscribe. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell icon so you get updates every time a new video comes out. And for everyone out there, happy reading, happy writing, and until next time.